And we're live
Oh,
on video this time.
cool.
And I remembered to start all of the videos. Hooray!
Woohoo!
Happy Towel Day, everybody.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Always.
What's all these days?
Always been more of a
Roger.
washcloth man, but yeah, I get it.
May the towel be with you, right?
I know where my towel is. It's right over there. It's
Like-
actually a towel that Roger gave me.
Which one was that? Oh,
It's
is that the
Yomiuri
Giants?
Giants towel? Yeah.
Yes. Where the teams have the names of the corporations that run them.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys gotten through that movie,
Which?
the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie?
I love that
Oh
movie.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which one? Are you talking about the
Oh,
new
yeah.
one?
There was
Zoe
one.
Deschanel as Trillian.
Yes, Zoe's. Yes, Zoe. I did not like it. I don't know. I love the books. I read all of them. I love it.
I love them both, but I don't even know how they ever even attempt to make it. I felt like
It
that
is-
was.
You're right.
You know what it is? That movie. I watched it. And I didn't hate it. And I didn't like it either. I think it just didn't have the same level of charm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That was my reaction as well. Like, I liked it. If I look at every individual element, I'm like, oh, that was a good acknowledgement. That was a good choice. That is reflective of the spirit of the books. But somehow it just didn't have the charm hanging together as a whole.
Yeah. I think
And
it was
maybe that's
always
'cause
like,
Douglas-
as good as it could be.
Yeah.
That's as good as they could probably do it.
And
But
maybe
you can't-
because he was gone by, he was dead by then. So
Yeah.
And part of it is that adaptations are tricky to do because if you try to do a literal adaptation, just a little, like for example, a comic book movie, you try to do a panel for scene replication, it doesn't always work because they're very different vehicles. They're very different platforms. You just can't. Gone with the Wind movie is a totally different thing than Gone with the Wind novel, which I've never read. And because you have to pick what kind of perspective you want on it, and if it's done well, it'll have the same spirit. If not, it's technically the exact same elements in it.
Yeah, I agree. And it comes down to storytelling too, right? Because when you could hear the same story by 2 or 3 different people, and it could be really enthralling, or it could just bore you to tears. But if the storyteller is great, you'll stick with it.
yeah, it makes a big difference.
And the one oh yeah, oops, sorry, you guys are starting.
Roger just looked at the clock.
Uh,
All right, ready to go?
Yes, sir.
I hear an echo from somebody.
Oh, is it me?
I don't know.
Let me put my headphones on. It might be me.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard it till right then, but I said my ready to go in my ready to go voice.
And you
I
heard
guess-
yourself say it back.
It got loud enough that I heard a little bit, just a little bit.
It's you, half a millisecond in the future.
Future. Man, I'm so excited to come out for a Warcraft movie. That's
It's
gonna be
gonna be
fun.
great. We're gonna have a good time. I'm ignoring the reviews right now, so I'm not thinking about it.
I don't even care. I hope it's bad.
Yeah, I just want to
Even
hang
more
out with
fun.
friends and have fun and laugh.
Exactly.
All set.
All right. All right. Hello.
I don't hear an echo now.
Good.
Am I good? Better? Not better?
Yeah,
Better?
that's better. Okay. Here we go.
The Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. When you submit articles, send emails, and visit dailytechnewsshow.com/support, you're exercising value for value and all the many ways to show the love. That's dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, May 25th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today as he does Wednesdays, Mr. Scott Johnson of theinstance.net and Frogpants and lots of other things.
Sure, why not? We'll pull that one out of the hat. It's good to be here, Tom. As always, I've come prepared to augment my reality.
Ah, yes, because joining us as well from Hockeybuzz.com, Ek is here today. And Ek, you shelled out for the developer edition of the HoloLens.
I sure did. I can't wait to talk about it. That way I can write it off.
Yes, we are helping pay for it by having you on the show. No, and it's great. Like you've actually got to try it out. You've got to have other people try it out, get their reactions. So instead of, and we've had some great reviews of it from people in laboratory situations, but I can't wait to talk to you about your real world use of it. Let's start off now with the headlines. Microsoft has some bad news today. They'll 50 people from the mobile division in Finland and 500 more people associated with their smartphone efforts worldwide, keeping pretty much research and development and sales, and write down 950 million more in losses, bringing to almost 8 billion or even a little bit more the amount they have had to admit as a loss from acquiring Nokia's handset division. Don't forget they recently just sold the rights to the feature phones to a company that is being partially backed by Nokia. A statement from CEO Satya Nadella indicates Microsoft will focus its smartphone business on enterprises and consumers who value security, manageability, and the continuum capability. That's the one that lets you use your phone like it's a computer by plugging in a keyboard and monitor. In an internal memo, Microsoft head of Windows and Devices Terry Myerson said the company will continue to update and support their current Lumia and OEM partner phones and develop great new devices, and also develop great new Lumia devices. So a lot of people are reading the tea leaves there.
Yeah, I think it's easy to read them, though, isn't it? And sadly, I don't know, man, this seems like such a bummer across the board, and not just the loss of these jobs and all of that, but the promise that was the ability to take Nokia into a new era and take Microsoft at the same time to a new place, and they both come out clean on the other side, and it just didn't happen, man. It just didn't work out. Too late in the cycle, I guess.
Couldn't agree more. My favorite phone that I had was a Microsoft Windows phone. Honestly, it was. I have one of the Lumia phones I had. I loved it. I thought it was the best interface for phones. I really did. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, the best guess is that they're going to put out a flagship device, a la the Surface, a la the Surface Book Pro. They'll probably have some kind of Surface phone, or maybe, I hate to use the word phablet, but that's the word that people use now, but something like that.
Yep, you plug it into a monitor and keyboard, and off you go. Google's self-driving car project chief executive said Wednesday that Google has begun to work with Fiat Chrysler testing autonomous driving tech in 100 Pacifica minivans. So look for them. Google will open an engineering and development center in Novi, Michigan, just outside Detroit, as well. So some ground gained in the process for Google to get more cars tested on the road.
I'm tempted to make jokes about, these autonomous cars will be able to autonomously tell kids to quiet down in the back seat, load out soccer balls, and all
is this the strategy of Google to make us fear them? Because minivans in our area are definitely manned by crazy drivers. So I think the idea here is you put them into minivans. I mean, that's the craziest thing in the world. Now you have all the reason to be scared of every minivan you see.
Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's rehabilitating our fear of minivans by saying, look, they have autonomous drivers. They will be under a fair and rational control now.
Time will tell.
Well, they're definitely not going for Big Brother. They're going for Big Mother.
Yep. Yeah. And the real point of this story, all jokes aside, is that Google is working with Fiat Chrysler. They had been trying to tie up with a manufacturer, and we've been hearing lots of rumors about who that would be, and now we know it's Fiat Chrysler. And Google moving into suburban Detroit is a big move too, as we are seeing a lot of these companies move into Michigan in order to be able to work with all of the experts and talent that exists in Detroit and the Detroit area around cars. It's a little bit of Silicon Valley having to leave the valley.
Yeah, in a minivan.
In some cases, in a minivan. Thurrott Report's Sam's Report podcast has sources who say Microsoft will announce 2 Xbox spin-offs soon. One is going to be a $100 streaming stick, so kind of like a Chromecast or a Fire TV. That will be able to stream games as well as your Netflix and everything, and stream games from an Xbox console. So you got an Xbox One in the living room, and Dad's watching his soaps. You can actually stream your game into a TV in the other room. Another would be a lunchbox-sized device, so we're talking like a Roku type thing, I think, that could stream but also natively play some of the lightweight Windows Store games. Sam's and Kotaku both have sources saying there will be an Xbox upgrade next year, and Kotaku says that would support the Oculus Rift, which continues the trend of Xbox sort of saying, well, the Oculus Rift is our PlayStation VR, and it would include a GPU that would support 4K. It would remain to be seen if they put out any 4K games, though.
I have so many billions of things to say about this, but I'll just say a couple of short things. One is, all right, this seems to be the thing to do. PlayStation's rumored to be working on a 4K-capable console as well, which should, in theory, benefit the prowess of their VR solution. I don't think them matching this on a competitive level is weird or anything. In fact, it kind of makes sense. It does seem a little strange, these little streaming sticks and boxes and stuff. Usually those are add-ons to a platform that's succeeding wildly. And while I would not count Xbox out, there's a real lag behind problem happening this year. So it feels like the efforts maybe should be more in how to get that library beefed up, how to make it a console of choice for gamers again. And then finally, saying that the Oculus Rift is your VR solution for your gaming.
By the way, they're not saying that. I said that.
And yeah, let's make that clear. A lot of people are saying that, including you. And I would say that also. If that is the way that they go, that is a steep price for a solution that is considerably less expensive on the more dominant platform this generation. So it's a weird time, man, for Microsoft and for games. And I've always said this such weird cycles in the video game business. One year you are on top, the next year you are flat. You go from Xbox original and not doing very well to dominating the next generation, and Sony going from dominating PS2 era to PS3 era and not so much. Now we flip the other way again. I mean, it's fascinating to watch, but I really want to see Microsoft do some things that pulls them, at least get back into the race a little bit, because right now they're just being discounted, and the Windows Store games thing has not been received all that well by developers and players alike, so they've got a lot of ground to catch up on. Yomi, Homie, right? Tom, do you have the file you can play for this? Do you have the little...
Yeah, do you want me to play that?
Yeah, play that. Xiaomi. There you go. Launched the Mi drone. It has a 5100 milliamp battery for 27 minutes of flight time, and rotors and cameras that are detachable, which is pretty cool. It includes GPS and GLONASS, which is the Russian standard for GPS, very similar to what we use over here, and a visual positioning system for places with no satellite signal. The 1080p one is being crowdfunded on the Mi Home app for 2,400 yuan. That's about $380. That starts May 26th. The 4K version is 29.99 yuan and is 460 roughly in US dollars, and will test in open beta at the end of July.
These are cheap.
That's crazy cheap.
I mean, a DJI with a 4K camera is above $1,000.
Yeah.
US.
Also, 27 minutes of flight time is not bad. That's pretty good.
I was just looking at Amazon has one that's crowdfunded in their little Amazon section. That's $6.99 or $8.99. But yeah, that's nuts.
Yep.
Now, the one thing we didn't hear about is any availability to the United States, I don't think, which was one of the thoughts, is that this would definitely be coming to the United States. Since all the prices are in yuan, though, it seems like, at least for now, they're just talking about availability in China. I'll update you if I find out more. If you guys have a link to anything that says otherwise, send it to us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. But this was supposed to be one of those things that they would be able to sell worldwide, because they don't have to worry about the patent battles that they sometimes would have to face over their phone.
Yep.
Alrighty. How about E-Ink? E-Ink announced today it has developed an e-paper display called Advanced Color E-Paper, or ACEP, that can show up to 32,000 colors at a resolution of 1600 by 2500. That ends up being 150 pixels per inch. Their monochrome displays are usually about 300 pixels per inch, so it's a lower PPI, but it's still a decent resolution, and 32,000 colors. Their previous Triton color display could only do 4,000 colors. We're not going to see this come to ebooks, though. E-Ink says it will be good, at least right away, it'll be good for 20-inch retail sign panels, so when you go into Target, that's when you're going to see this thing in a lovely color display for the fall sale, and when that ends, they can just press a button and turn it into the Thanksgiving Day sale.
Yeah, I wonder why not any talk yet, or maybe there is and we just aren't hearing it, but talk about e-readers getting this technology, because I've always thought that the only thing holding e-readers back from being even more widely received is good color being added to the technology. Meaning,
well, certainly comic book readers think that, right?
I definitely think that. I guess, yes, you've just outed me. This is the reason I want this thing, and I want it to be able to be, this sounds like sufficient resolution to me, and also retain the battery savings that you get from these devices. Like, lots of advantages there, and I'm surprised that isn't the focus. But
that's what I'm kind of curious about. I mean, I think E-Ink's about battery life, right? I mean, otherwise there's better screens to use colors. So if you're putting this in a window in Target, you have probably access to. You're not going to be recharging those window displays. I mean, it seems like something that would be plugged in. That's what it's kind of. Is it just going to be less expensive? And what's the real benefit?
I think it has to do with cost. I think the cost for putting this into an e-reader probably is a little higher than the manufacturers would like it to be. Whereas if I'm a store and I just buy 2 or 3 of these and then I use them forever, that may be worth it in savings and adaptability of printing costs and whatnot on high quality signage. So I don't know.
There's one thing we're not thinking of, and that is also the ability for e-ink displays to not be a problem in direct sunlight. And in a environment like a storefront in front of a window, this is a pretty good way of having it literally look like they're posters and not some sort of reflective.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a big advantage in the retail situation.
The U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee approved a 2017 Intelligence Authorization Act on Tuesday. That's today. No, yesterday. The bill would allow the FBI to obtain email records with a national security letter, which is currently used for phone records. It will be considered by the full U.S. Senate shortly. Another brick in the wall of the current debate over phones.
I don't know if it'll be considered shortly, but that's the next step. The Senate would have to consider it, and then it would go to the House, and then it would go through. So this isn't becoming a law yet, but it is the controversial practice of saying, let's make it easier for the FBI to get email records. And you can be of two minds legitimately on this. Email records right now fall under the purview of temporary access and permanent access, and basically rules that were written when email was kept on servers back in the 1980s that don't apply. So we do need the rules to be rewritten, but you have a difference between Feinstein and Burr that say, let's write them to make it easier for the FBI to get access to them without the subject of the search knowing. That's what the National Security Letter gives you the power to do, whereas Senator Ron Wyden says this is more surveillance, and what we need is less surveillance and more oversight.
Yeah, I hope, I wish kids got more. You said something earlier that just took me out of it a little bit, which was, this isn't anywhere being a law. It's still very early. Remember when we used to get cartoons as kids and we would tell us it's only a bill, and we would learn what it took to get there? I wish my kids had more of that. I'm just throwing that out there. Side note.
Schoolhouse rocks, man.
That's right.
By the way,
awesome.
Just a side note, a little behind the curtain thing. If you wonder why we'll say on a Wednesday, it happened Wednesday in a headline, it's because a lot of people don't listen on the same day that we make the show, especially people across the international date line can't listen on the same day that we made the show because it's tomorrow for them. So a lot of people were complaining, like, when you say today, I don't know what day that is sometimes. Anyway, that's why we do that. Bloomberg reports that sources say Google is creating rankings of phone makers based on how up-to-date they are on Android patches and OS updates. Google shared the list with partners earlier this year and is now threatening to take it public to try to encourage them to be better actors and reduce fragmentation. Carriers are often the delay because of months-long testing meant to avoid network disruption, but sometimes it delays intensely needed security patches, like with stage fright, for instance.
Do you think also, I don't know, how much is this about consumers wanting the latest thing and they can't get it?
Oh, it's absolute. I mean, that is the pressure. Google wants that. People want the latest thing, like when it's an OS update, but also people want the security update to fix their machine. So it's both, yeah.
Yeah, it's that one thing Apple always gets to brag about. You know, their adoption rate on new updates is kind of insane. The information reports its sources say Apple will provide an SDK for Siri. This is something people have been begging for a long time, allowing developers to implement the voice assistant in their own apps. Apple is expected to introduce a hardware device featuring Siri. This would, certainly work with HomeKit-enabled devices, maybe others, similar to the Amazon Echo and upcoming Google Home Assistant, or Google Home, they're calling it. According to the same source, Apple's WWDC conference is on June 13th, and perhaps we'll get to see something about that then. Tom, what do you think the chances are we get a Siri home device unit this soon?
I feel like that's what they've been positioning the Apple TV to become. But I also understand that the Apple TV now is more expensive, and they might want to have a lower price point home hub device. A home hub device seems pretty boring for something for Apple to put out, so positioning it as an Amazon Echo, Google Home type competitor seems to make sense, and they could put it out at a $99 price point. On the other hand, like, why not just put it all together as an Apple TV then? I'm curious. This doesn't feel like Apple traditionally, but Apple can break their own rules. So Siri as a device I think is going to happen. Whether it happens within an expanded Apple TV device, or whether they're like, no, it's too confusing. We need to have a separate device that we can sell people for Siri. $99, I don't know. The Echo's more than that, so maybe I'm wrong about the Apple TV price. I don't know. I don't know how to read this one. What do you think, Rick?
The Echo is such a great product. I mean, they really are behind the curve on it, and it's the kind of thing that I don't think anyone would have thought the Echo would be as great as it is. It really kind of snuck up on everybody because Amazon has had no luck putting out products, and for one thing. But the other thing is, it continually gets better. The way they constantly crowdsource that thing. Yeah, I don't think Apple can catch up to that, but I could see people at Apple being jealous about how cool it is. Like, I could definitely see them wanting a product like that.
Yeah, and they want to get Siri in more places, and also I just think it would be hilarious if we could have a grand lawsuit, the kind of which we've never seen in the electronics business, where they try to use the term iHome and they have to sue iHome for the name. That would be awesome. I am ready for that. Put me in the stands and buy me.
Oh, no, but see, it's Apple TV, right? Their new trend is it would be the Apple Home.
That's true. Yeah.
That's kind of where I think we're going with that.
Don't you want your Amazon Echo to change your Apple TV for you? Wouldn't that be cool? You know, just to be able to tell Amazon Echo.
I would like the Echo to just do all of it, like just interoperate with everything.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
If Siri getting an not open, but an SDK that allows for this kind of interoperability, there's a good chance of that, or at least in theory. Apple's usually a little more shut down than this, but at some point maybe that is what happens. Spotify gets searches and that's connected to this, and you can say whatever you need to this device, and it'll turn the Apple TV on, and you don't have to buy their new device. Like, I don't know they go that far, but that'd be great. I'd be all in on that.
It will be within the ecosystem, though, right? That's my only. I love the idea of a Siri that's just sitting there in the kitchen, the way Alexa is right now for me. But I only love that because I use enough Apple products that I think it might be worthwhile. I will not like it when it says, oh, well, this only works with the Apple ecosystem. You're using some kind of application that's outside of that, and therefore your Roku is not going to be controlled by Siri. You have to have an Apple TV.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I hate that. By the way, also, I know we'll get the email about it, but I just want to say that when Scott said that Apple avoids those fragmentation problems, he didn't mean to exclude the fact that Google's own Nexus devices also avoid those fragmentation problems, and that Google's fragmentation comes from the fact that Google allows other people to use their operating system in addition. So there you go. I've just answered your email for you.
There you go.
Right there. Magic Leap will partner with Twilio to enable real-time holographic avatar chats. So this will take us nicely into X evaluation of the HoloLens, but the idea with the Magic Leap would be I could see a projection of Mom on Mother's Day, and we could have a chat even though we're not in the same location. 10 developer teams in Twilio's community will get access to an SDK to start building for mixed reality hardware. This in no way sheds light on when the public or even these developers will get to see any hardware from Magic Leap, but they'll get the SDK and be able to start making things for it should it ever become a real product.
Oh, they're just treading so close to vaporware. They got to be careful with this because at some point all of these awesome ideas and these neat videos have to have some bearing on reality, and I'm concerned because I'm really jazzed about everything they're talking about. I think Magic Leap is scary cool, and lots of investors also think so. But my gosh, there's nothing to actually look at or hold on to or test. It's weird. The whole thing's weird.
Yeah, but I love that idea, and it wouldn't have to be limited to Magic Leap. I know they're doing this SDK, but I hadn't even thought about the idea of taking Skype to the next level, say, and saying, like, all right, well, forget telepresence robots, which, by the way, it was a telepresence robot of the CEO of Magic Leap that made this announcement on stage at Twilio's conference.
That's awesome.
What
other way would you like that to go? That is the only way I want that to happen.
It's kind of him saying, like, I won't need to be in this clunky thing in the future. You could just all have your Magic Leaps on. Yeah. Hey, thanks to everybody who submitted stories from our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them, especially the voting. I know that's less overhead for you. Get in there and do some voting at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We've got submissions from Strike It Rich, Goofball Jones, SP Sheridan, Philip Shane, all kinds of folks in there. Albachuela Condolce is submitting things. So you can submit too, or you can just get in and vote on the things that they have submitted at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And that is a look at the headlines. All right, let's talk about your HoloLens, Ek. First of all, I know you've been letting other people try it. So not only your own reaction to being able to put the thing on and use it, but what are other people thinking of it as well?
That is the most fun part of having a technology that no one else has, right? So and I've got a 10-year-old son, a 14-year-old daughter, and tons of kids in the neighborhood, plus some older in-laws who are very tech savvy. So I've got a whole span of the whole thing. It's fascinating. People are legitimately blown away by this, and I've tried. I mean, I had the developers of Oculus Rift as well, and people love that, but it wasn't the same reaction. This has a very inward reaction to it. It's hard to explain how much it hits people when they can walk around something in a room, like when you can put something on a table and you can walk around it and see it stay there. That is a really, I don't know, ethereal feeling to you. Like makes you feel like I said, I got this because I had a couple ideas for developing it with sports, like the idea of teaching how to actually play different positions on the field and mapping all that out and having augmented reality players essentially. And I've been working on that, but just the basic concept of that this exists is one of those things that makes me happy to have lived this long. Like honestly, I have to say that's the one thing that keeps coming back to my head. Like I am thrilled that I lived long enough to see this exist, and I know it's going to get a lot better, and there are problems with it for sure, but they're on to something. This is real. To me this is real. This is actually, and I did Google Glass and I do everything, but this is the first thing that feels like to the level of iPhone excitement of something new for a very long time.
Now, tell us about the field of view, because one of the larger conversations happening around HoloLens, and maybe one of its controversies, is that the field of view is more limited than their stage demos would imply. And they haven't hidden this fact, but there are some who think it's going to be too limiting in light of the fact that we haven't actually seen hardware from Magic Leap and others to contradict what can be done. Is that as limiting a factor as some are making it out to be?
I don't think so at all, honestly. I mean, I do think it's the tech people who saw it one way. Of course, when they see it another way, it's going to be weird because it's smaller. But if you've never seen it the other way, it's not as if you say, "Wow, I wish this was so much bigger." I mean, you do want it to. It would be great, and eventually in your head, it's kind of thing. Oh yeah, eventually this will be much bigger. But it's not so small that it's annoying at all. I guess the biggest thing that it actually brings into fray is with some of the holograms, if you start placing holograms around your house, which is a really fun thing to do because it remembers where they are. So you can just give the HoloLens to somebody and walk around the house and say, okay, find all the tigers in the house or whatever. It's very bizarre.
For tigers. Wow.
It's a great scavenger hunt thing for kids. But yeah, no one has said anything about the field of view at all to me. I know it because I've read all the articles and stuff like that. But you can say yes, it'd be great. I mean, I guess with the holograms, if you make the holograms a little too big, perhaps then you get that weird thing of, okay, they don't feel as real because you have to go up and down to see their whole bodies or their whole. But if as long as you keep the holograms within that certain size, the field of view is not a problem.
What was the first thing you did with it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask. You pull it out of the box and then what?
And my son happened to be homesick that day, and he's been dying for this thing. And so we've been talking about it. We watched every video possible, and he was just, I can't believe I'm homesick when it came. He was so excited. So we took it out of the this it's not that big. It's like this is the size that it comes in. It comes in this kind of a case, and yeah. And the first thing we did with it, we had to just put holograms all over the house, and that was fun. But then the one game they have, which is like the famous game that you see a lot of people doing, where they're shooting at things and firing at things that are coming at them. The second you play that game, the second you fire and you see, you put a hole in your own wall, that's when it really gets cool. I mean, that's when you actually say, wait a second, this is completely, it really breaks down that literally fourth wall of video games or the concept of, because I've done, virtual reality, and they're very different. And I think there's a really good place for both of them. But yeah, the first thing I did was we just walked around the house putting holograms in the coolest places we could. Like we have a fish tank, and there's a couple fish holograms. So we put fish in there. We put the fish in, we put an octopus in our fish tank. That was amazing. Just my son's like, we put an octopus in there. He just thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
I wonder, and maybe you can speak to some of this, but I wonder if the sense of presence or the sense that the things you're doing are really there is more pronounced in this AR experience versus VR. VR is striving to create presence, but it's also creating depending on what you're looking at it, you, I suppose, could be watching 360-degree video or 180-degree video, but also you could be looking at a rendered world in various styles and so on. That is, I know the ultimate goal is to eventually create worlds that are so generated that there is nothing to do with what's in front of you, but what you're doing with augmented reality with this device, almost deserves the term virtual reality in a more real way, at least at this stage of things, because
I couldn't agree more. You're dead on. The thing about this that really just differentiates for me is because we have put these holograms around the house, I actually feel like they exist, even when I don't have my HoloLens on. Like I know that there's an elephant in that corner because every time I put my HoloLens on, I see that elephant. And so that's the weirdest thing about it. I didn't think I would have that reaction to it, but I said, there's a bird on that banister over there, but we don't see it now. But I know it's there, and all I have to do is put my glasses on, and it'll be right there. And that's the strange thing. So that is a really interesting twist on reality in a way. I never expected that feeling, like when you don't have the moment of thinking that things are they're just in a different realm.
You're hallucinating them.
Yeah, they're just in a different realm than you are now. It's as if you can just step through a door and be in that realm at any point. That is pretty darn cool.
So would you call that the wow factor, or what is the thing that makes you think that this thing is for real?
Yeah, I think the wow factor is the game is the game when you're shooting at something that's shooting at you and you're literally ducking and bobbing out of the way, and then you're seeing a little arrow that points you to look on the back wall, and suddenly something's coming out of that wall. The second you start to feel like your entire room is engulfing you, or when they actually the one game where it scans your whole room, and then suddenly in your normal door, which is just your basic target door that you put on your basement, becomes this Game of Thrones-esque type door. And there's certain things. The whole idea of working with your environment is the real differentiator, and that's really when you start to go, holy cow, this is. And
has it done a good job of this mapping, the mapping portion of this? Is it doing well? Like, are you having problems where it's like, there's no corner there? Well, this.
No, the mapping is incredible, and the mapping itself is fun because it puts these cool lines, and you can see these angles as you're looking at it. It's mapping the room. The mapping itself just looks very futuristic. I mean, that looks Terminator-esque because it's putting these red things, and then you see all the corners. You see how it's doing the ceiling and the floor, and that's. The mapping itself is awesome. It does a great job with mapping, so much so that if it's in something small, you want to remap it again because you want your room to be perfect. You just have that feeling of like, okay, because the one game I was playing with this little guy that runs around the room, and he ran under the chair, and I had to go duck down and look under the chair to see him. That was just holy cow. Smart, that was crazy.
And the controlling with the little you gotta do the cricking your finger thing just right, and that's good enough for doing a shooting game.
Well, that comes with this too, right? So this is a little clicker.
So you use a little.
So yeah, there is and I do use this more for that game. For resizing, it's definitely better to go like this, and it is pretty. The one thing that doesn't work very well is like the home getting back to regular one screen. You have to go like this. They call it blooming. And that just doesn't. I have to go I find myself having to do this a couple times, and I don't quite have it right. Maybe I have to calibrate it again or something. But the actual going like this does work pretty well. You have that like Kids in the Hall, like I'm crushing your head feeling. But that's But besides that, for the shooting game, and just the clicker thing is the best thing. But you're actually controlling the cursor that you're trying to shoot things with where your head goes, right? So the one thing I find when people are playing it is they're going like this, and I'm like, you can just hold that at your side, because your cursor is where you're shooting at.
How does lighting affect things? Do you ever have any trouble with like bright lights through windows or dark hallways?
Yeah, it's definitely better in darker rooms. But I did a classroom today with 5th grade, and the one side when you put holograms onto like a lit up ledge, you can see them, but they're not. It definitely looks better when it's in a room where you're not in direct sunlight. It's definitely better. Like the basement is the coolest thing for it because, and you can see so many things like where it's mapping out your couch. And there's one game where a guy walked through the door and sat down at the couch, so it knows there's a couch there. Like that's just like, to me, that was the little things like that. I mean, I had one guy.
Who are you? Get out of my house.
Yeah, right. Like, what's is he going to always be at that couch now? Do we have to move because he's creepy?
Do you sit on the couch and think of him like?
My wife thought he was creepy. My wife's like, he's ruined that couch for me. He thought that guy was creepy.
That's amazing.
But the one guy in the neighborhood is like, where do I buy one? Like a lot of people are that way, and the one thing that's funny, they have one app that is basically a virtual reality app where you're in Italy, and you're looking around, and that doesn't work as well as Oculus Rift because Oculus Rift is so engulfing. I mean, the only difference there is I guess you can see your feet when you walk around, and there isn't that ghost type factor if someone speaks to you. Like if you're wearing an Oculus Rift and someone talks to you in front, that can kind of freak you out. But there is, so you can't see your hands. But I do think that is where the field of view thing gets a little bit weird, because you are seeing your room, except it's Italy when you go wherever you're looking. And I don't know if that's the best app for it. You know, I don't think that's really. I think that's trying to be virtual reality, which is another thing.
Keep in mind, folks, it's $3,000 to get it right now because it's a developer's edition, and you have to apply as well and get Microsoft to approve you. Yeah,
you do. And somehow I got into the first group. I was lucky, but it is going to be obviously it's going to have to be way less. It is a little uncomfortable to wear. They have to make it more comfortable. There's no question about that. It is heavy.
So it's heavy. Okay, interesting.
It's heavy, and it's not well put together in terms of how you adjust it. You know, like it has this thing here that you turn, and that makes it bigger, sort of. You can see it like getting wider, and then this also goes like this, which is strange. So I don't know if you can see that or not.
Well, it has two concentric circles, right? And so one of them pops up from inside.
And I don't know if this is more comfortable, or most people.
If you're not actually wearing it, it looks like a torture device.
Yeah, it does, and and a lot of people put it on and they have to hold it because you have to.
Yeah.
And quite often when you put it on, you know, I put it on people and I'm twisting this thing behind them. You know, I feel like I'm like screwing into the back of their head. You know, trying to tighten it. This is heavy, and I wonder that's where I wonder about the difference between this and and the others, in terms of the computer's in here, right? So that's what's cool about it. So the computer being in there makes it heavier, and you don't have to connect to another computer. But I wouldn't mind it if it. I know the original one that the people saw when they saw this had a little backpack computer type thing. I don't think I would care if I had a backpack on. You know, like to me, if this is more comfortable, and that was just something that clipped on your belt, I think I'd be okay with that.
It's almost like beta hardware. Don't forget, like the Oculus Rift was pretty clunky in its first couple of revs too. So
sure, totally. And even in their current state, all of these things are inherently clunky and will become iterated upon to the point that we will eventually be super thin and rad, like everything that we that takes on some popularity. So I'm not really worried about that in the long run, but it does sound like they went right from backpack to fully contained computer on your head sooner than maybe they needed to.
I think so. I mean, this is cool, that it's all in one. That's cool, but it's not comfortable to wear it long stretches, right?
Yeah. So on the other hand, now they've got the developers saying, it's uncomfortable in this way. This is a problem I have. I've read some reviews where people said it was uncomfortable until they showed me how to properly adjust it. So maybe that'll help them figure out how to make it more user friendly. That's all part of the scheme right now, is they want to find those kinds of things out.
Right. And no one cares. No, I haven't had one person who put it on and says it's uncomfortable the second they see a hologram. That's just, to them, I mean, I'm just talking about if you were wearing it all the time, which I don't think you would do, but if you were wearing it a lot, you get uncomfortable. And the other good test with this is like the iPad test with kids. You know how you can just hand a 2-year-old an iPad and they know what to do? This has that. Like, I've given it to like 3 or 4-year-olds, and they put it on, and immediately they know that I don't have to tell them, oh, your head's the pointer, and you're clicking. They just immediately they just go, and that is cool. I mean, that shows that they got something right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, boring question last. Battery life. How long does this thing last?
Astonishingly well. I mean, I talked to the 5th grade class today at my kid's school, and it was an hour and a half, and we only went down 25% battery, and it was being used the whole time.
All right, that's not bad.
I think it's pretty good for a device like this.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our pick of the day, which comes from Franz in Could Be Warmer, Austria. He has noticed recently several picks helping people prevent the Windows 10 update from tricking them into installing. And Franz says, I therefore thought I should balance the scales and make my pick Windows 10. Here's his review. It's okay. It's fine. If you take a look at Android, people are still getting mad they cannot get the latest versions, even if Google has been pushing security patches over the Play Store for ages now. Don't now be that guy trying to hold everyone else back. Also, just from a purely economical standpoint, the amount of energy some people spend trying to avoid Win 10, with all the complaining online and registry hacking and tool rotation to keep the update from happening going on, stands in no relation to the time investment needed to acclimate oneself to the new environment. Thus, just check out Windows 10. You know where to find it. Winky face.
People should just get Windows 10. It's fine. We're all stuck in desktop.
Here's the thing. There are people with very legitimate reasons not to get Windows 10. Maybe it's hardware reason. Maybe it's a software application. It's not always just I don't want to get used to the new thing. And at the same time, if somebody just doesn't want to get to the new thing, that should be their right. So I in no way support the fact that Microsoft is being, in my opinion, too pushy about this update. At the same time, I kind of in the same spirit as Franz, which is like, yeah, I mean, if you don't have a real reason, there's really no harm in upgrading to it.
Yeah, holding on to 7 until your last dying breath is weird. Just if that's
it can be weird. There are non-weird reasons that people will say, no, I absolutely need Windows 7 and not Windows 10 because it will break things, and I get that.
Yeah.
But if that's not you and you're just resisting because you think it's cool, that's different.
I had a friend who loved Windows 7. He said, I look at Windows 7 like he's an English guy. I like living in England, and Windows 10 is I'm being forced to move to France. Like, why is that happening? Like, I don't want to go to France. Yeah. I like it in England.
I think that's fair. I do. I really do.
Take that.
You shouldn't be forced to move from France to England or England to France. You should live in whichever one you want. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Lots of folks still reacting to Monday's conversation about self-driving cars. Clay was listening to that episode and had to disagree with our conclusion that the fear is either unfounded or based in ignorance. He says, I don't think the issue is everyone thinks they're a great driver, but just about everyone has had their computer crash on them more than once, pun not intended. In fact, we're just talking about these Windows 10 updates surprising people. I don't think it is an irrational fear of handing over driving to a computer, since the state of software operating systems has been less than stellar. Why would the general population feel confident in handing over their lives to a computer when it often can't handle normal user applications over a long period of time? The blue screen of death could take on an entirely new meaning. Happy face. Wait, there's more emojis in our emails today.
I just want to throw in this comment, which is I'm one of the people that my initial reaction is a little bit nervous about the idea, but I also know that every day I get into a Honda Accord that is mostly computer now, if you take away all the the hardware and the gas. So I'm relying on that already in a lot of ways. And we're not talking about these things being, a gateway tower under the hood of the car. We're talking about a lot of solid state, sort of standardized stuff, or at least we're working toward those standards. So, it's going to be fine. You're already trusting yourself to a giant piece of machinery that's about to murder you anyway. May as well do it in style.
That's one way to look at it. I'm not going to lie. I actually wrote Clay back, and I was like, I get that, but I think my problem is not that I think it's irrational for people to be nervous and fearful getting into one of these machines. I know I will be the first time I let one drive for me. It's just natural, but it is also irrational to compare this to the operating system that runs your phone, because those are entirely different user sets with entirely different standards of reliability that have to be tested. In the vast majority of cases, if your desktop app crashes, nobody dies. So there is a different standard being set. And I'll take you one better, Scott. Not only are current cars have a lot of computers in them already, but our airplanes are flown almost entirely by computers. Pilots are there because we have an extremely high standard of safety, and we want pilots to be able to take over and do certain things. But the avionics in planes are very sophisticated as well. So if you were going to make that comparison and say, well, my Chrome browser crashed one day, I'm not getting on a plane because there are computers in there, that would be silly.
But I think it's the basic human fear that he's talking about and the others are talking about, whether it's based on experience with current computers or if it's just based on I'm not letting a machine run this thing for me. It's a human nature thing, and it's going to be tricky to get over. Whether or not we all agree, that will be a part of the conversation until we get there. I'm sure of that.
I think that you have to take into account the fact that people are totally different in cars than they are in any other place in their lives. I mean, when you think about it, if you're walking through the mall and you bump into somebody just walking there, you're like, oh, I'm really sorry, excuse me, it's terrible of me. If you do that you don't hit somebody, but if you cut somebody off in a car,
right?
They're gonna say all kinds of you'll get the finger, you get all kinds of things. People are just angry in cars by nature, and I think that they're afraid that they can't be angry at a computer, that they won't feel the same way, or maybe they hate computers already. I mean, I think there's something about cars that makes us individually crazy, and and makes people just completely unpolite to each other too. I think that matters.
Yeah, it's that separation somehow. I have a couple more pieces of feedback about this situation. Chad sent us a voicemail from Portland.
Hey, Tom and the DTNS crew. Just to add to the discussion about self-driving cars. To start, of course, I am an amazing driver, and so are you. Nobody is questioning your ability at this point, assuming you've passed your driving test. The "I'm a great driver" argument, however, is a vacuous one, because the actual question should be, is the car more vigilant? When there are umpteen sensors around the car, taking in more information than I can possibly process consciously or subconsciously, the answer easily becomes yes. Self-driving cars are more vigilant and more aware than I am. Self-driving cars will be able to process so much more information and know how to respond to that data much more quickly. So to all the motorheads crying out, "You can have my steering wheel when you pry it from my cold dead fingers," there will undoubtedly be more motor tracks you can go to and drive to your heart's content. But let's go ahead and put on those safety rails and prevent an extra 30,000 people each year from dying in traffic-related accidents perpetrated by really good drivers who just had a momentary lapse in judgment. Love the show.
It's kind of going to your point, Eck.
Man, that guy, he is so right. I absolutely agree.
No, he's dead on. And then think about this too. Like think about the concept of, are all self-driving cars going to run on the same computer program? And if you're not driving a self-driving car, you know we're all going to be gaming it. Oh, that's a Chrysler. He always stops at the corner. Vroom, I'm turning here. You know, that's this kind of car. You're going to think that, you know, like he's saying, I'm a better driver and I know how to get in front of a Mercedes. Those are the most conservative self-driving cars in the world.
And finally, John posted, self-driving cars are perfect for rubbernecking. The reason rubberneckers slow down traffic is reflexive slowing to look. Self-drive allows you to gawk as you pass at normal speeds. And since cameras and other sensors are required anyway, giving the rider a display with the ability to scroll back and look at things past seems pretty easy to implement, either as a regular or optional feature. Dashboard and backup cameras are already available.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the future of rubbernecking is in self-driving cars as well. That is it for this show. Eck, thank you so much for sharing your HoloLens story with us.
Well, thank you so much, Tom, for having me. This is my actually best opportunity to get on Forecast, the podcast I always wanted to be on before with you. Remember, because you guys are. I asked so many times to be on Forecast. And I have the whole Forecast crew here, so I'm really excited.
Here's what we should do. We should now, since Forecast has essentially got folded into Current Geek as a segment. There's nobody. I can't think of any reason why you shouldn't be on Current Geek at some point.
I would love that.
So we'll be in touch, man.
We'll make that happen.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, where can folks keep up with what you're up to, Eck?
Well, Hockeybuzz.com is the best place. I do a Hockey Buzzcast every day at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. That's a news report very similar to this, completely copied from this, but with hockey. And so I do that every day at 1 o'clock. And I'm available there, and also I'm going to be doing a Patreon soon. Believe it or not, I'm meeting with Patreon people in the next few weeks. So I've been waiting because you guys have had such success with it. And I thought I had to do my podcast for a couple of years before I could ask people for money. So I waited a couple of years, but I'm doing it now. I'm going to be doing it soon, and yeah, I'll be at a Stanley Cup final near you. Maybe in St. Louis, maybe in San Jose, maybe in Tampa, maybe in Pittsburgh. I still don't know where the heck I'm going on Monday, but we'll find out then.
I would love to think it's in St. Louis, but I know by the end of today my dreams will probably be crushed again. So
I don't know. I talked to Hitchcock yesterday, Coach Hitchcock yesterday. He's very optimistic. He's a great guy.
All right. Yeah, no, I love Coach. He is optimistic, and that's good. We need that.
Yeah.
Go Blues. Scott Johnson, what do you got to tell folks about?
Oh, I wish I had a HoloLens on to tell you, but I don't. Maybe one day. I have got all kinds of things happening, but the best way to find what those things are is simply to go to frogpants.com/podcast. That's where all the podcasts are. You can also follow me on Twitter @Scott Johnson, and don't forget, a very few, but some tickets are still available for the Warcraft showing on 11th of June here in Salt Lake City. If you live in the area and want to come, please do. Tom Merritt will be here.
Can't wait.
Brian Ibbett, a few other people. So come on out and enjoy a big nerdy movie with fellow nerds.
Where do you find those tickets again?
frogpants.com/Warcraft.
And folks, thank you for supporting the show. If you do support the show in any way, there are two main ways to support the show. You can give us a dollar or more at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. You can do it on Patreon. You can do it on PayPal. You can do it by buying a mug at the store. We have some lovely mugs there. That's dailytechnewsshow.com/support. And you can also tell people about the show. And if you're a little short on cash, that'll do. Just go to iTunes, leave us a review, or find a friend and say, hey, I know you'd like this show. Let me help you subscribe to Daily Tech News Show. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Hey, great show, you guys. That was awesome.
A fine technological piece of programming.
A lot of fun. I hope I wasn't too glowing with HoloLens, but it's really exciting.
Oh, no. I thought that was just good, honest opinion.
Yeah. You've cranked up my excitement meter just with some of the basic things that I was wondering about, like just real simple things, like battery life and what's the sense of what's real and what isn't. Like that stuff's really exciting to me. I mean, AR, as much as I've been jazzed about VR, AR is maybe more exciting to me generally. Yeah. And I'm really excited to get my hands on something like that one day.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, and it's cool when you think about that. This is the first of it. You know, like to me, that's what's amazing. I mean, this is really good for being the first of something.
Showbot titles?
Yes, please. What do we got? What's good? What's good, Roger Chang? What's good?
Well, we have HoloLucinating.
I love that. Of course, I also
there you go.
Siri, order more toilet paper. Hollow the door.
Oh, so sad.
There's one from, so remember The Wrath of Khan where Kirk yells out, Khan? Well, someone wrote, no, Kia.
Oh, I think it's actually maybe a Darth Vader reference.
Oh, that's right. It is a Darth Vader. I'm getting old. My pop culture synapses are firing out those neurons. X survives the HoloLens perspective vortex.
I like that.
E-ink won't soak your towel. Magic leap of faith. A magic leap too far. Twilio leaps its magic.
My friend texted me, I don't want to move to France.
I want to move to France.
Windows 10, it's okay. Google's Fiat and self-driving cars.
Xiaomi the world.
Xiaomi the drone. Google pressures
Xiaomi the money.
Apple echoes the echo. Holograms all over the house.
I don't know. What do you guys like?
Who's that guy on the couch?
I like HoloLucinating. It's pretty funny.
HoloLens has ruined that couch for me.
Yes. Why is Tron on the couch?
HoloLens ruins X couch. Let's do it. That's it.
All right.
Right from my wife's mouth. She'll love that.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing about e-ink over a regular display is because it's not emissive in the same way that like a LCD or OLED display is. It has less eye strain for readers, which is why I like e-ink over reading off a tablet.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a Kindle, especially with someone with such poor vision as I do.
It probably puts off less radiation too, just in general. I mean,
well, yeah, because you don't have to keep electricity going through.
Right.
The balls are in little.
The balls are in play.
Yeah.
Like the hockey balls. You ever play field hockey?
It's a too stupid sport. It's a terrible sport. I mean, it's like you know, you can only use one side of the stick. It's ridiculous. You can't be left-handed in field hockey.
Oh no!
You can't.
My dreams of starting field hockey buzz are
dashed. Right-handed. I know it's a terrible. It's a horrible sport. It's like lacrosse is right up there with it. But yeah, it's a horrible. I mean, lacrosse is just dangerous and terrible. And hockey.
Let me tell you about one thing about hockey. I always loved hockey growing up, and we have a great IHL team here.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it's a good time. The Grizzlies are great. I live actually kind of near the stadium now, and it's always a fun time. Well, growing up, I had this friend named Bill Evans who now works for some NBA team, I forget. But he was huge into hockey, and I have never in my life experienced a more foul smell than hockey gear in a corner of the room. It is unbelievably
raunchy.
It's like the Walking Dead world must smell like. It's horrifying.
And it stays with, like, when you wear it. Like, I'm a goalie, so I buy all this equipment, and it's just, my wife would not. There was a rule about this. Like, she would not sleep with me on nights that I had played hockey. Like, no matter how much I showered, You have to sleep in another place.
Can you Febreze the equipment and like
You
get
can
rid
try.
of the
There's
funk?
all sorts of things. They make crazy contraptions. They have PVC things that look like you stick your gloves on here on your head. They try all these things, but nothing works. There's a stink to hockey that's like no other. I mean, I do agree.
What about a bonfire? Just buying new equipment.
That's the best way to do it.
There's a stink to hockey that is like no other.
No, it is. It is. There's nothing because I mean you're taking all the things you need to create mold are being combined at once. Like heat.
Well,
and water.
can you wear like a cotton under long sleeve shirt that soaks up the sweat?
Yeah, but it's your hair. It's just your hair. You're never going to get it out of your hair. Like as a goalie mask or a hockey helmet, all that is just never going to get out of your hair. Like no matter what you try.
So there's like no liner or anything like that. You can.
No.
I think you have to accept it. Like you just have to embrace it. If any, like there's nothing else to do. If you live.
You have to marry a woman who thinks it's good.
What if they use Gore-Tex that could wick away the sweat and then it'll just collect at the back of the helmet?
Maybe.
Roger is a problem solver, man.
The problem is you're on ice, so
really, it's just about wicking away the sweat.
Yeah.
But wicking away sweat on ice is not is.
Well, and there's that weird ice sweat smell.
Yep. Yeah.
That I've never been able to put my finger on. But it's not just a hockey thing. Like even in the winter, I remember it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
It's something about the cold and
funk.
And you smell when you walk in any rink at all. Whether it's a pro rink or just your local rink or whatever, you smell that everywhere. And hockey locker rooms and local rinks are just horrendous. I mean, they are really there are places to go that you go to die. Like they are really terrible.
So hopefully we've convinced you all to try hockey.
Oh, I know.
Head out to your local rink.
That's why hockey is such a great television sport. You don't have to smell it.
It's an incredible television sport. It only exists now because of HDTV. Had HDTV not come along, I don't think hockey would have survived. But hockey,
you can't follow that puck unless they were going to do that.
Yes, you can. See, I always
you can if you grew up watching
argument
it.
went away because I grew up watching the Blues on a crappy Zenith, like 16-inch tube TV, and I could follow the puck just fine. I think what it is you learn to know where it is by other cues.
That's exactly
not by looking for the actual puck. I don't know.
Right.
It's still the only sports video game I buy ever.
Yeah.
I love a good hockey game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so good.
I got my copy of NHL '94 right here.
Best hockey game ever made
by far.
Oh my gosh, Genesis version even.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
Dude. The only thing a little bit better, the Sega CD version of that same game, which just added real crowd sounds. And
It was
so good.
I played. It was a recent tournament. I did a charity tournament around here where they had a whole you sign up for this NHL '94 tournament. So there were like 32 people and they had 31 and they wanted me to come because I advertised it. So I was there and I felt like I was really good at this game as a kid. Like I played constantly. I got destroyed in this tournament by like small children just take me apart in NHL '94. And I'm like, you didn't even play this. This game existed 20 years before you were alive.
Such a classic though, man.
It
was the year my daughter was born, and everything was great in '94. '94 was a great year, man.
That's the one where if you get in a fight, the guy falls down and blood comes out of his head onto the ice. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That's great. Get past that.
That's some reminiscing right there. That game, I used to stay up till 3 a.m. playing that with my brother-in-law.
Yeah, and there were some players that were just better in that game than they really were in real life too. That was like. Jeremy Roenick, who's like an analyst now, I always joke with him about it because he was incredible in NHL '94. He was a good player, but he was the best player by far in that game.
The one hockey game that I never enjoyed was the Mattel one because they obviously just tried to reskin the basketball one, and it was like this isn't hockey. This is not any different.
I have that one too. Yeah, I collect all these hockey games. Yeah, that's the Mattel. Yeah, like that. There's the Mattel version of this, like the head-to-head. That's one. That one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, that was the baseball one was really good though.
I love the baseball one. Actually, I have the other, this one, not the non-head-to-head one.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Look at that. Nice.
Yeah. No, that was good stuff. I mean, that was fun. That was really fun. I mean, now it's gotten crazy though. The latest EA Sports games have gotten a little bit nuts.
Yeah, my problem with them is that they think that the way to iterate is to make them more and more complex. And I think they're missing the point, which is give me a game that recreates the sense. You're never going to be able to make it feel like a real hockey game other than aesthetics and the feel and the sound of it. So focus on those things and You know, let it be otherwise kind of simple. The way 94 was simple. You know, doing the one-touch shots and stuff. Just
the one-timers. Yep. Oh yeah, yeah. No, that was great. You're right. And now they've really gotten to the point where they're so complex that the people who are really good at them have just figured out the glitches in them. You know, like there's a way you can shoot from here and always score, that kind of thing. And I've played against people like that, and that's just crazy. Yeah, awesome. I think it's definitely true.
Totally agree.
Well, that's the next step in virtual reality is like allow me to feel a forecheck.
Mm-hmm. Right. Do you remember Nintendo Ice Hockey?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Nintendo Ice Hockey had that interesting approach, which was kind of rock paper scissors. They had skinny guy, medium-sized guy, and a big fat guy.
Yeah, remember that's a great game.
It's a great game, yeah.
And that was
the guys could totally body check. They were super slow, but they would never get knocked down. Middle guys were kind of jack of all trades, and then the skinny guys were just getting thrown all over the place, but they were fast.
But they were really fast. I know, it was the greatest.
It was really good. But see, that's just Nintendo thinking, and I wish more people had it sometimes with games. We try to out-complex the last iteration, and that's sometimes
right. And that's game probably made by people who've never seen a professional hockey game, you know, like the Nintendo game. But they're making a great game.
Sure.
No, I totally agree.
I think the worst is football. Football video games are the worst.
They've gotten pretty crazy.
I cannot.
In 05 for me, about 05, they stopped being
fun because you had to memorize all the button combos and whether you're offense or defense, and it's like
Yeah.
Well, I collect old arcade games, you know, and I have one football game. I have like 25 arcade games.
NFL Blitz.
Nope.
Oh.
I have what I think is the ultimate arcade game for football. It is Nope, not Technical, which is really good. That was very good. No, this is before that. We're talking like 1983, 84, and this was the Atari football.
Oh, with the trackball?
With the big trackball?
Yeah.
I've got that.
Great game, and they had like a cyber future football game with the same control scheme. They had I forgot what that was called, but it was similar to that. Atari did that later, where it was like that same roller ball.
Yeah, and the roller. This is where you stood across from the other person on the roller with a roller ball, and it was just X's and O's. That's all it was. And it was the first game they claimed was the first sports game with a scrolling field. So actually, you know, the field scrolled as you went along.
Yeah.
And yeah, that game is insane. You just rip your hands up. I mean, you just completely.
The balls were always busted or had gum on them.
Oh yeah. We had to fix one. We took it apart. It was really fun. It was such a simple trackball concept. I mean, it was really just a ball with two things that spin each way.
Yeah, and you get all sweaty, and it was a great game. I love it.
Yeah. No, that's a classic. That's a good one. And you only had 3 plays.
Yep, that was it.
You could pass, you could run, or you could do something else. Okay,
Beatmaster's in the chat room asking you guys a question. Was it Blades of Steel that had the boxing and made the loser go to the bench?
Was it Blades of Steel?
Blades of Steel was the hit the glass one. That was that one.
Yeah. Did it have a? I don't know if it had a mechanic or it made you go to the bench.
I think it was Blades of Steel. Actually, I think if you lost the fight, you got the penalty. I think that was that one.
Maybe that's right. Yeah.
Blades of Steel was a good one.
That was the old NHL rules before they were.
right.
Before they decide, you know, if they mixed NHL with MMA rules.
And there was a team in Kansas City.
My son once asked me, he says, "Dad, why do you buy a FIFA game occasionally? I thought you didn't like soccer." And I said, "Well, it's not that I don't like soccer, but it reminds me of hockey, so that's why."
Oh yeah.
Like this year's FIFA game is a better hockey game than this year's hockey.
That is such a good point. You're dead on right. I know. And I coach my daughter's soccer team now. It's crazy, and I've gotten into soccer because I've had to. But yeah, you're right. It's a better hockey game. Yeah. It's completely true.
I would dissuade my daughter from soccer.
Oh no! Soccer's a great thing for girls. Awesome. Awesome sport for girls to get into.
I agree. Girls love it.
My daughter, she just lives for it, and she's now on a select teams, and she's on all these crazy things.
2 days of post-show hockey talk on DTNS.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, you talked hockey yesterday?
Yeah. Jen Cutter was on the show, and she plays hockey in Toronto.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them. I mean, it's not pro level, but it's pretty serious league.
Yeah, if you play hockey in Toronto, you're serious, basically. There's like, I know people up there. We got challenged by Sirius XM to like the Hockeybuzz people to wanted to take us on up there, and because I'm the goalie for the men's. I've told you this, Tom, but the men's USA media. We'll play against the Canadian media at All-Star games and events like that. So at the finals, so I'm the worst player in this whole thing. Like most of these guys are ex-NHL players, so I'm just getting schooled. But it's fun. I mean, it's so much fun.
Yeah, she was saying that like off-season college players will play in her league.
Yeah. Yeah, they are really, really good. I played against a couple of the Canadian media are ex-Canadian Olympic women's players, like Cassie Campbell and these guys who are really just legends, and they're phenomenal, and it's so much fun.
All right, well, we have had a lot of fun having everyone here today. We're going to end our broadcast day. We operate with an effective radiate power of 3,000 watts from studios located at 309 West Main Avenue in Greenville, Illinois. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.